This is the HomeTech Podcast for Friday, December 2nd. From Sarasota, Florida, I'm Seth Johnson.
From Powell, Ohio, I'm TJ Huddleston.
And from Pickering, Ontario, I'm Gavin Campbell.
And welcome to the HomeTech Podcast, the podcast all about home automation, home technology, all that good stuff. This week we've got some funny things labeled here in our show notes to go over. One of them is labeled, let's see, Gavin's epic home assistant failure. I don't even know. We're going to get to that later in the show. I can't wait to hear all about that. But first, a little bit of follow-up from last week. We had Turkey Day, had Black Friday come through, Cyber Monday. What'd you guys get besides like turkey comas, food babies?
Yeah, I didn't buy anything this year. You know, I have enough technology in my life at the moment. I want to save up for a couple other things. I spent all my money this year on a turkey, so we got a nice smoked turkey from a local barbecue place, and it was delicious and well worth it. So no Black Friday deals for me.
That does sound delicious. What about you, Gavin?
I didn't buy too much this year, but I did pick up a new desktop charging stand for my phone. So I got the Belkin Boost Charge. I kind of like that one. It lets you put your phone sideways, straight up, and it works. I mean, that's all I can ask for in a stand. So I grabbed one of those. Thanks to Richard, I picked up a battery tester. A really cheap one, but it tests all types of batteries. And it's always a good idea because when I'm changing my batteries, I just make sure the ones I'm putting in are good, right? So I picked up one of those. And finally, it wasn't really on sale, but it was $1 off. But I got the Snoop Dogg cookbook. Now, as funny as that sounds, a friend of mine had a copy of it, and he was raving about the recipes in it. And he says it's his mom's recipes. He did a few of them. He said it tastes amazing. If you want, you can put in special herbs and spices if you want, like the Snoop Dogg, but he doesn't tell you have to. But apparently, it's a real good cookbook. So grab the copy of that.
I'm surprised that wasn't a requirement in the ingredients.
I thought so too.
I think that's one of those pregame things because that's what makes you hungry. It makes you want the good food, right?
It's all appetizers. Then is what you're saying.
So the Snoop Dogg cookbook comes highly recommended by a lot of people. So
I'm trying to find this. Is it the Qi charger stand? Which is the Boost? The Belkin Boost looks like this big round thing.
Yeah, it's
$29 from Amazon.
Charge. Yep, something around there. Yep.
Don't tell Gavin; he'll be sad because he paid more in Canadian dollars.
Put a link to it. In the
it
show
always
notes.
sounds so much more. I just hate the fact that they call it dollars as well, because then you'll say, "Oh, it's $20," and I'll be like, "Yes, $20," and then I look it up, it's $54.
Oh, I see. So you can like charge different sized phones in this one thing. It's not. Oh,
and
okay.
then you can put your phone sideways. You can put your phone upright.
Sideways. Yeah.
Ooh.
It's really nice. It works really nice.
I have an Anker one that is like a desktop stand, and supposedly it's got the MagSafe thing on it, but I don't think my case doesn't, so it barely holds on. But it does charge, but I can't put it sideways. As soon as I put it sideways, it just falls off.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that's about. But yeah, I'll put a link to that in the show notes so we can get back to that later.
And just a bonus to the Belkin, if you have it on your bedside, the little light for it, they usually have a light on it. Well, that seems to annoy the heck out of my wife. So the light on this one is actually on the top. So it's not in your face. It's not glaring or anything like this. And it's just faint. So it's perfect for, if you like a dark room.
Yeah, I don't know why they do that. It's dumb.
They should always just put like a simple little adjustment on there, like even just a switch that turns it on or off, because sometimes those lights are so obnoxiously bright that it ruins the product.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So good to know that it doesn't do that.
It's nice to know, like when you put it on there, that you've made the connection and that it's charging.
Right.
And then after that, I don't really care.
Exactly.
Like after that, just the light can go away, but the phone can tell me if it's charged or not. I don't need whatever this thing on the Anker stand, but this one isn't that bad. I'll put a link to this one in the show notes too. It's got a place for your AirPods or whatever underneath it, and it's got a place for the phone on the top. So it's kind of nice.
Oh wait, you're probably not looking at the same thing.
The Anker? No. I'm saying the one I have. It's Anker. Yeah. It's not what you have. I like what you have because you could put it on there sideways, and it'll hold it no matter what. It'll charge it no matter what. That's pretty cool.
It's perfect.
Awesome. Well, I got something. I got one of these like Amazon Fire tablet things for $75 whole dang dollars. I don't know why I got it. I got it just to play around with it, and I've already I already wiped all the Amazon stuff off of it and made it just a standard Android tablet thing. So it seems to be all right.
Now you just need to mount it on your wall like everybody else.
Well, I was looking at the mounts, and the mounts cost more than what I paid, or like at least 80%. I'm like, I don't want to invest any more in that, but I got it like half off or whatever. So, yeah, I don't know. I will say for toys on Thanksgiving, if you're getting family together and stuff, I got this a few years back. It's one of those little airplane like ball things. Have you ever seen these?
Like spins around and stuff.
Let's see.
Oh wow.
Oh wow, that sounds louder than your servers.
Yeah, holy cow, that's loud.
Oh, this could be our little. How do I turn it off? There we go.
You don't.
Yeah, it's supposed to crash and then turn off. This could be our alarm clock thing, the one that wakes you up in the morning.
That was louder than your server fans.
Anyway, I can highly recommend getting one of these things wherever they're sold. They may be on Amazon, but they are a treat to have and play with at family gatherings. No matter who you are, adults, kids, throwing a flying contraption around in the front yard is always fun. So I'll recommend that as a Thanksgiving pick of the week. It seemed to be something to do while we were waiting for the potatoes to finish or something like that. So. All right. Well, what do you we do have one HomeTech.social. You guys are finally over there. Gavin, thanks for joining.
No problem. Glad to be there. Thanks for the invite.
Longtime user TJ has been on there as well.
Yeah, I've posted a couple times. I guess I still don't understand the point of it, but I'll go along with it.
It's like Twitter, but not the same. I don't know. Not as I was talking to somebody earlier on here about how it just kind of feels like, because they were talking about listing your server or listing yourself in some kind of like directory of people where you can find common interests and that kind of thing. I'm like, you know what this feels like? This feels like the GeoCities day, where we'd have like the web ring links at the bottom and you would just click the next one to go to the next website, or you like manually submitted your website to Yahoo and told them what category to put it in. Do you guys remember that? That's kind of what this feels like right now. So we've got a number of years to go, but it's definitely in its fun days right now. It does feel like GeoCities. If you grew up in that era of the internets before the big Facebooks and the Twitters and the MySpace pages were around, this is kind of where it feels like things start. And I think it's probably got some legs to it, and it'll probably be around for a while. So check it out. It's a lot more fun, a lot quieter than Twitter, and you can make it more stuff that you want to see rather than what Twitter wants you to see, which is very nice. I do like that. And
if you were an early adopter and you signed up on another server, it's very easy to switch over to our server. Like I did it. So if you're on like Mastodon.social and you want to come to HomeTech.social, just sign up for an account on HomeTech. Then you go into the preferences and you say migrate my ID, and then you log into your old account and you migrate it, and it brings everything over, your followers, everything, and you'll now be part of the cool crew.
Yep, I did the same thing too, and you don't have to do that if you want to stay on your social one. We'd enjoy having you over there, but you can also follow everybody over here on the HomeTech social one as well. I think our names are pretty easy to find on there. So mine's just Seth or at Seth, I guess, and TJ's is at TJ, and then Gavin's is at Gavin Campbell. He run the.
Couldn't have just been Gavin, huh? Gavin.
Could have just been Gavin, yeah.
He's Gavin Campbell everywhere, though. So
yeah, I keep it consistent so that I know when I have to guess, that will be my first guess.
Well, and there's no imposters that way, You are the Gavin Campbell.
Oh yes.
There is an interesting hidden link on here. Like if you guys see the, it depends on what view you're looking at. But like if on the main page, if you look at the bottom, or if you're using the multi-column one, it's on the right hand side. It says like about, invite people, or profiles directory. If you click that profiles directory link, it brings it to like this weird active profile thing from like everywhere, and you can find people in there. Like you can kind of scroll through and you find somebody.
Yes.
Isn't that neat? Like here's James Thompson. I do know him. I will follow him. Leo Laporte. I'll follow him.
Yeah. I thought that said porn star for a sec, but it's
Leo a porn star.
You're important today.
There's another guy that said Palmster, but when I first looked at it, I thought porn star. But Different show.
Jeez.
Different show.
Head is in the gutter this week, isn't it, Gavin?
It's been a rough week.
Got to have an outlet somewhere, man. So yeah, I didn't know about that. I found out about that the other day, and I was like, "Oh, this is really cool." You can just go through and find people that you look interesting, or and who are actually active on servers across the world, and right there, and you just click in there and hit follow on a couple of people you may know, you may not know. Just a really interesting way to find people. So yeah, check that out.
I'm a really boring social media person to follow. I read a lot of social media, and keep up to date with a lot of stuff, but I don't post enough. My life isn't that exciting.
No, mine isn't either. I've just been posting pictures of my robot, which we'll talk about later.
You're so proud of your robot.
That
Little robot friend.
It's my boy. He's out there mowing the lawn. Grew up so fast.
Just working all day and night.
All day mowing the lawn.
Do you have it blocked off for like certain hours, or is it going at like 1 o'clock in the morning sometimes?
Right now, I push the button and watch it. Because I'm a proud parent. So
you don't want to let it go on its own just yet.
No,
I understand.
I want to make sure it's safe. It's a safe neighborhood.
I was say nobody take it either.
Exactly.
Ooh, what's this? Free robot.
Here's a robot. Yeah, I haven't seen one of these before.
Somebody abandoned this.
It's 1 o'clock in the morning. Nobody's paying attention to this, and I'm sitting out there on the front porch.
Hey, leave my kid alone.
All right. Well, we'll talk about that later. But what do you say? What do you say we jump into some HomeTech headlines?
Let's
do it.
All right. Well, Hubitat, a name that we hear quite often, has announced that it's getting an official HomeKit compatibility or capability. It sounds like from reading this article here that they kind of already had a HomeKit integration with Hubitat, but it sounds like with the official version, you basically don't see a warning message anymore that says that this thing is not certified that you're connected to, and you have to accept it or whatever. It really doesn't seem to be a big problem, but for the Hubitat team, I guess that means that they also can advertise and say that their hub is so that's kind of cool. Gavin, I know you were probably closest to this up until like the last week or two. What do you think about this?
No, this is great. It's a great move, and like you said, it's a lot of marketing because all the Hubitat users up until now were using either Hoobs or Homebridge, and integrating it that way to get into HomeKit. Now this is totally built in, so you won't need to run Homebridge on another box. And that's great, and again, marketing, you can now put it on your box and say, hey, we're an official HomeKit, device. I don't think they're actually official yet. I think they're still working towards that, but it's the first step in the whole process, right? And, hats off, because it's not easy what they did. And it's great to see them getting it done.
Yeah, no doubt. Jonathan, TJ, do you have anything to say about this?
No, I mean, it's always good to see companies doing this, right? I mean, the more you can use all of your devices with any platform, the better off everybody is. And the better quality the products and the software become in the long run. So it's good to see Hubitat jump on this officially and get something out there for their users.
Yep, absolutely.
And it doesn't cost you anything as far as I'm aware, right? So you paid for the hub once and there's no subscription to use this or anything like that. They have their own subscription, but a free software update's always welcome.
I agree. Well, speaking of free software updates, Josh.ai and Ava are teaming up to transform the universal remote control, but is the remote control that's not a universal remote control.
Da-da-da.
So Ava announced that they are pairing up with Josh to basically add an interface inside the remote that will basically give you a dedicated like speak to Josh microphone emblem right there on the front on the home screen. So if you want to tell Josh to do something, you just tap that and speak into the remote, and it'll process that command through the Josh system, which is kind of nice. I mean, Josh does have a ton of integrations with its product, and if you are a heavy Josh.ai user, this might come in handy. If you had this remote or the remote that's not a remote sitting in the room, what it does, what is kind of nice, like I guess it becomes a little Josh hub, Josh microphone in the room, one of their devices, and you instead of just yelling in the room, you have to go and press a button. But that's not a big deal. People are used to that with Xfinity remotes and all the other remotes that act exactly the same way. So, kind of a cool update. Are you going to grab this, TJ? Are you going to install this app?
I don't have access to Josh.ai. I wish I did. But this is kind of neat because the Ava remote is a Google Play certified remote. It does the wake word as far as I'm aware. So you should be able to use that with the Josh.ai as well, I would think. Maybe not now or at some point in the future. But that would be nice because then it would literally be a Josh.ai, listening device that you could place around the house and have it in various rooms.
Automation. It becomes what did I think Gavin came up with the term voice remote? Is that what it is? No, Gavin, did you come up with that?
No.
So it's truly a voice remote at this point. This is interesting stuff. Well,
yeah. Sometimes when you add too many microphones to an area, though, it kind of gets confusing. So we have the Google Home speakers around our house, but I also have some of the Sonos speakers with microphones as well. And so, like, we have the Sonos Arc in the family room, and it's paired up with Google. And then we have the kitchen, which is kind of basically shared with the living room. And sometimes the devices get super confused on which one you're talking to, and you don't realize that the one across the room has actually picked you up instead. And sometimes they get a little snobby, like, yes, I'm listening.
I'll have to go back and find that comic that I posted in the hub of where they're making fun of Siri for basically doing exactly what you're talking about. Mine does this all the time as well. Like it was a 4-pane comic, and it was like in the first one, the person was giving Siri a command to basically stop playing the music. And the second pane, Siri immediately responds on it. The third pane, the music's still playing. And the fourth pane, the music's still playing. And Siri is saying, "There's no music playing in this area." It's like, yep, that's a common Siri experience.
You are right now, though.
It's coming out of you.
I see it.
Anyway, moving on here. Got some security news here. First up, big one from Anchor. Their Eufy branded security cameras appear to be sending some data up to the cloud, even when cloud storage is disabled and local only storage settings are turned on. This information comes from a security researcher named Paul Moore, who last week published a video outlining the issue. And according to Moore, he purchased a Eufy Doorbell Dual, which is meant to be a device that can store video recordings on the device itself. But he found that Eufy was actually uploading thumbnail images of faces and user information to its cloud service when cloud functionality is turned off. Digging through this article here, we'll link to in the show notes, but Eufy actually had to provide a response for this, and it kind of outlines why they are actually doing this. And they said that to provide users with push notifications to their mobile devices, some of our security solutions create small preview images, or thumbnails in this case, of videos that are briefly hosted on AWS cloud server. And these thumbnails are basically pushed down to the person's device. Everything is in complete compliance with Apple push notification service and the Firebase cloud messaging services. And only the users can access those thumbnails by securely logging into their Eufy security account. They said, although their app allows users to choose between text-based or thumbnail-based push notifications, it was not made clear that choosing thumbnail-based notification was actually uploading these images to the cloud. So they're going to go back and revamp their app and make that a little more clear. But I don't know, this came out and it was like, man, this seems pretty bad that there's, I don't know, it didn't seem bad to me. It sounded like a mistake, but it sounds like now with their responding and saying what they're doing, like, this makes total sense. This is how push notifications work. They don't send pictures in the push notification. The push notification just has like a URL back to an image. And then your phone, when it displays the push notification, also downloads the image and puts it on the notification itself every time. So that's kind of how it works. It would make sense if that's what it was doing. But, this guy's right in what he was saying, where somewhere in the article, claiming that they could use these thumbnails of faces and everything for facial recognition. Eufy says that's all done on device, but he's right. Like if it's up in the cloud on their servers, they could potentially use it that way, but I don't think they are. Gavin, we talked a little bit about this show before the show. What do you think about this?
Like you said, that's how push notifications work. I think the scarier part was he actually talked about in the article that he was able to stream in VLC a live stream of the camera, right?
Yeah, a little bit they said that in there, but there's nothing. It said there's not much information on that exploit. Like the vast majority of his video is about this, thumbnail uploading when all the settings appeared to be turned off to any normal person. It seems like they were doing something they shouldn't have.
But it also seems like he was afraid to like disclose more information of that publicly. So I'm pretty sure he's going to Eufy about that, and that to me would be a more scary thing because he says it was with no authentication, no encryption. He was able to get his camera feed. And, that you could have a scraper then once they figure that out, scraping, trying to find other camera feeds, and it just goes from there. So it sounded like he was afraid to bring that up publicly, but I'm pretty sure he's working with them and that I found a little more bothersome than just the thumbnails.
Yeah, I would say not afraid, but more responsible if he doesn't disclose the details of that. And
yes.
Yeah, report that stuff. Don't just tell everybody how to download other people's videos. That's wrong. That's not right. TJ, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that they would upload this, to the cloud in order to get it up there, right? In order to give you the push notifications for it. They should have been more clear about it, though. But to be honest, is anybody going to actually read that? Probably not. So this is probably going to happen again with some other manufacturer. It's just a matter of time. But you can kind of expect this to happen if you're using those services.
I'm glad someone found it because it seems like it's either confusing for the end users there, and Eufy's been able to make a change in their interface. And if they do have a bug with this streaming thing that he's talking about and Gavin was talking about, like they need to fix that. And then we can come back and talk about it, in a couple of weeks when it gets patched and pushed out to all their devices. Cause that would be a much larger security issue.
Nowhere near as big as this next security breach though.
No. This one's weird though. So this is Canada security news. An Edmonton man was having trouble with door sensors on his new Brinks home security system. His name was Andrew Kopp. He added a little home security in October 2021 when he signed up for a 36-month contract for a Brinks system. And he was trying to troubleshoot some door sensors that weren't working. I know what that's like. And he signed into his online portal and noticed I had access to a bunch of other addresses that weren't his. So there was a screen where there were approximately 100 other customer addresses that he could change his account to and click through and find out about their name, address, phone number, emergency contacts, account payment history. He could even view specific things about the security, the customer's home security systems, like the security system equipment that's installed, the locations of the zones, and sounds like he got access to the back end dealer portion of the Brinks app. It's really weird. But he, being a good guy, he reached out to Brinks and tried to get this resolved when he noticed. He reported it in early 2022. In April, he's still surprised to find out he had access to the same drop-down menu with the same customer information being built into it. He's been trying to call Brinks back, and they just keep escalating to a manager who says they'll call back, and they never call back. So this complaint made the news, and I'm sure Brinks has probably fixed it by now, but he was just having all sorts of problems trying to get this resolved. Sounds crazy, but I can see it happening. Like you get one permission wrong when you're setting up an account, and all of a sudden you have access to a bunch of stuff you shouldn't. Working on computer programs, this makes total sense to me. But Brinks should have been able to, resolve this a little faster.
Yeah, and there's definitely like checks and balances that goes into this kind of thing, right? Like that's why you go through it and you make sure that you did it properly. And if you don't, then you correct it right away. It sounds like this guy kind of dealt with it for a little while. It wasn't just like a day or two kind of thing.
Right. No, months and months and months with no callbacks. Yeah.
And that's the part that just drives me nuts is when you find something like this, reporting it to the company, you would think they would be all over it and, on it right away. But no, months and months, letting it slide. like, and these companies won't jump on it till it hits the local media or something like that. Like, companies should not be operating that way. Brinks should have resolved this right away.
Yeah, a major security breach at a security company. Yeah, and it, like I've always said, it's not how, like the Eufy story we just talked about. That's a good reaction. Like Eufy acknowledged that it's an issue. They say we're going to take these steps to take care of it. This guy didn't have to call Eufy back and post on it repeatedly for almost a year to get them to fix whatever problem that he was having. He put an article went out and they said they're going to fix it. Okay. Brinks sits on this thing while this guy has access to local people's security systems. And he could have been a bad guy and been able to sell that information off to somebody who was going to do something naughty with it. I guess. I don't know. Like, what would you do with it? Like, I've seen all that information before. Yeah,
breaking into people's houses. We've heard about this in all the horror movies and stuff.
But it is bad. It is a huge privacy breach to, first of all, like the private information, but also like billing history and all that. Like, this is a pretty significant business data breach that should have been resolved instantly. And for whatever reason, Brinks didn't have that process in place. That seems kind of bad. So you don't want to use companies that react to their security issues in this kind of way. Yeah. Well, anyway, all the links and topics we discussed tonight can be found on our show notes over at HomeTech.fm/414. We don't have anything in the mailbag this week, but we do have a pick of the week, and TJ has a wire stretcher, right? That's what it is. Like, I guess we have to get some background on what a wire stretcher is. Like, anytime you're working on a job site and you have a green guy, the new guy, you tell him, hey, go get the wire stretcher out of the truck. We got to get these wires pulled like 5 more inches here. And I need to get that wire stretcher. And you send them out and they can't find it because it doesn't exist. But TJ, you actually found a wire stretcher. I believe that's what this is.
It's mythical, but it exists. No, so let me see if I can share my screen.
Fancy.
Here. And look at this thing. So this thing is pretty sweet. I don't pull wire through conduit that often, but I had this wire run 600 feet through very sketchy conduit. And this thing attaches to your drill. You just put it in a little chuck there at the end. It's got a little rotating handle down here. So you just hold on to that with your hand on the drill and you tie your rope to it, your pull line or pull string, whatever you have. And you just use the drill. And depending on the conduit and how many turns and stuff you have, it's relatively smooth, honestly. And I think this was $80, normally $100. Well worth it. This first time I used it, it paid for itself. So I would absolutely recommend it if you're pulling wire at any point through conduit. This will probably make it a lot easier.
I like it.
And I just want to point out this other wire tool I
found. What is that?
Thanks to James Riley. James Riley in the chat was, looking at the wire stretcher, and he linked this up, and it's a little like pulling pal thing that you put into your little junction box, kind of makes those little bends a little smoother. But this picture right here with the little guy in there is absolutely hilarious.
It's adorable.
So I think that's worth it by itself.
So we'll put a link to it in the show notes, and that definitely has to be the Pixel of the Week right there. So, but the it's got a little guy inside a metal conduit box, and he's helping pull the wires through the conduit box, and he's got a little hard hat on there, and safety first. He's got a hard hat on there. I think he's got a lift vest on too, which is great
because you never know. I mean, that's obviously a high up conduit junction box. And he's very small, so if he fell out of there,
I hope he's tied off. Yeah, exactly. Amazing. Well, that's definitely going to be on the show notes pick of the week.
What a treat! 2 picks of the week right there.
2 for 1, exactly. All right. Well, if you have any feedback, questions, comment, picks of the weeks, or a great idea for the show, give us a shout. Our email address is feedback@hometech.fm. You can visit hometech.fm/feedback and fill out that online form. Well, as we teased at the beginning of the show, we got some Gavin is like straightened and he's rolling his shoulders back.
He's ready.
Just this microphone.
Let's getting ready. He's got like a yellow pad, notepad. He's just broke out. Like,
I just got my knuckle bump farms order over with. I'm ready to talk and focus.
We're gonna leave that one where it is. But Gavin, little bit of trouble in the Home Assistant land. What's
Oh,
going on?
hell yeah. So
The most unstable, stable platform ever.
I know. So yeah, I set up Home Assistant I grabbed a new Z-Wave, one of the new Z-Wave Zoos S2 700 sticks. I transferred all my Z-Wave devices. I actually grabbed the Sonos Zigbee. I transferred all my Zigbee. So I'm pretty much 100% Home Assistant. I still love it. Don't get me wrong. I'm still loving it. But last Friday, it's been humming along for, most of the week. And then last Friday afternoon, all of a sudden my automation stopped working. So I was like, okay, what's going on here? The first thing is like, I didn't come over here to have the same kind of problems. Right. So I was like, okay, let me look. Z-Wave, everything stopped responding. Right. So I'm like, okay, first thing you do is you shut down everything, pull the power, wait a couple minutes, grab a drink, start plugging things back in, power it all back up. Nothing came back online. And that's the point where I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? So I start going through logs, Googling issues, seeing people talking about similar issues. And yeah, every time it's just restart, pull the USB key for a minute, and restart everything. That didn't solve it. I spent pretty much half a day and I could not get the Z-Wave working again on this stick. I took out the Zoo stick, I threw it against the wall. I was just fed up with it, right? I had an older AOTech stick, and it was a 500 series stick. Now, one of the things I saw most often referenced was how unstable Z-Wave 700 was. And I think this was just that. Like, it's very unstable. Even in the Hubitat world, like one of the things I really wanted to understand was when moving over to Home Assistant, if the Z-Wave issues that I constantly hear people talking about, or I saw it myself at times, if it was Hubitat or if it was Z-Wave, right? Like that was one of the main things, and I'm finding it was Z-Wave, right? Like the Z-Wave 700 just it's giving me headaches, right? So I put in the old AOTech, and that's a 500 series, and I've had it up for pretty much the whole week, and it's been so much smoother, like just faster response. The devices didn't fight me to get joined. Everything's just been running smoother. It's only been a week, which was about as long as the 700 stick lasted, but it's been a great experience. So I'm now back in my Home Assistant. Home Assistant is back up and running. The house is chugging along fine. I have 100 Z-Wave devices on there. I have about 30 Zigbee devices on there, a bunch of Wi-Fi stuff, and I'm happy again. But that just, that kind of like, it pissed me off. It was just like, like when it happened, I was just like, what? No, I came over here to get away from that, and it seems like it's just with the protocol, and mind you, my Zigbee too. So people are like, oh, that's why, Zigbee versus Z-Wave. My Zigbee gives me a little bit of problem too. I still, mess around. I don't have many Zigbee devices, but some of those devices were just randomly dropping off. It's settled down now, so I think things are working better now. It's not with the mesh, because these devices were sitting like pretty much right next to the controller, so they didn't need a mesh. They're all directly joined, but they were just dropping off too. So yeah, this is the part where, one day I was just like, I'm fed up of this stuff. Let me just go back to a dumb house.
Dang, that's bad.
Like I almost reached that point.
Reached
that point. And then I had to turn off a light manually, and I said, no, I got to smartify this again.
Oh yeah, that's why I did this.
So here's a tip. I'm gonna give a tip for everybody that's working with Home Assistant. Buy yourself a long USB cable, and I'm saying like a 50-footer. I bought one of these, and it made my life so much easier. And what I did with it was, when adding devices, even the furthest devices away, I just put the controller on that USB cable and ran that cable all the way next to that device, and it would reset, and it would add perfectly fine. And then you could put it back in the basement or wherever the original hub was, and the mesh would handle it from there. So I invested in one of those, and it made my life so much easier. So there's a little tip. But I got a lot of messages. I didn't realize that this was such a hot topic, because I got a lot of messages from people about Home Assistant, like, why? Like people are in shock, like, because I've been using Hubitat for like 3 years. And there was a lot of why, and they were asking me to compare it. What do you like better? What you don't like? Etc. There's some long, good conversations about it, right? And I always say is like both have their strengths and their weaknesses. Like, just use what works for you. What you feel comfortable working with. That's the one you stick with.
Yeah, well, I don't want the Home Assistant people coming at me, so I'm going to say use Home Assistant because it's great. I seem to be the only holdout that has not used Home Assistant yet. So.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah. It's a great platform, and I've come to appreciate YAML a lot more. Like,
oh, don't say that.
No, honestly, like, no, there are times that I really appreciate YAML. So sometimes when you're editing a lot of automations, you could save yourself a whole lot of clicks and just drop down into the YAML and copy and paste or search and replace, and you're back in business. Like you could do things so much faster in the YAML than going through a user interface. So sometimes I just set up something in the UI and then I jump down to the YAML and just copy and paste it over again for 5 other switches. Right. So you learn to appreciate things like that. There's some power in it.
I'm pretty positive you're the only one that's ever said anything positive about YAML.
That's a
first time in history.
The first thing I had to do with my editor was change it so it didn't do tabs, it used spaces. Like there's certain things, because in the files you can't have tabs. It has to be like double space is the only way it looks really nice, So once you get the nice environment working out, you'll work with the YAML a lot better.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a trap.
Yeah.
It's a trap. Listen, you got to learn how to do things fast, and YAML lets you do some things fast. For example, I have a bunch of dashboards. I'll take the YAML, copy the dashboard over, and then just change the entity IDs. And then bam, the new dashboard for the new room is set up and going. Whereas if I had to do that manually, you'd have to go and click.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
So there's ways of doing things so much faster in YAML that you appreciate it. I'm not saying you have to do everything in YAML. Some of the things.
Yeah, I mean, stuff like that too. It's easier to do at that level than sometimes it is to do it like at a copy paste. Like you could, they could introduce a copy button or interface elements that tell you, duplicate this thing or duplicate this, and it may be, instead of just copy paste, change a couple of IDs, like 45 minutes of tapping in and out of stuff to fix errors and change stuff up. So sometimes going back to the keyboard, copy and pasting just raw code or HTML or JSON, YAML, whatever is the faster way to do things. So that's nice. I'm looking at these long USB, like 30-foot cables they have here on Amazon. Does yours have does it have a booster on it?
Yep. It's an active cable. You have to get, because I think the longest is 6 feet or something is the longest, I think, unless USB 3 changed it to longer. But yeah, I got a 50-foot one and it goes all over. I had the front of my garage. I had it going through all the way to the front of my garage, and I added the garage door sensors, and it's worth it. Like just having that on hand makes life so much easier, so you don't have to move your hub all around your house. You just move the controller with you.
Nice. Cool, man. Well, it sounds like you had a busy weekend.
Yeah, it took me a long time. I'm back in business, and you know what? I'm loving it again. Now I'm customizing my dashboard. I'm writing a few blueprints, and I can finalize my first integration, which was my Foscam cameras.
Nice. Well, I'm glad you weren't checking our note server over the weekend, because our Unraid was crashed again. So. Speaking of throwing your hands up and saying, I'm never going to use this thing again. Frustrating. Still crashing. Still don't know why. But I actually got one project about 80% complete, enough to actually use my new Clippy lawnmower robot guy. He's riding around the lawn. I posted some pictures over on HomeTech.social. Was it night before last? I don't remember.
All week.
Yeah, of me. Yeah,
you're so proud of that thing.
Well,
I'm so proud of that thing.
It's not even your child.
He's my boy. All the wire and everything that had to go in for this. I kind of have different ideas of how may change this up, and I might put like section off there's a concept of it mowing zones, so I'm kind of curious to see how that works. Like you can send it down the wire to a certain area to make it mow that area. So I'm curious to figure out if that works, and I might have to, or might want to section off like parts of the backyard where it will travel down the wire and find the part of the, this half or this quarter of the backyard and mow that area first. So I might have to rethink how the boundary wire works with this particular model. But I did kind of set it up and blocked it off to kind of like mow the front yard last night, I think it was, and it did a pretty good job. I woke up this morning and I would say it had done a good enough job to be passable. Like it's not like your traditional lawnmower. It has like these tiny little, they're probably 1-inch blades, like razor blades on the bottom, and it just spins them around and chops whatever it runs over. So all in all, I think it probably cuts like maybe 2 or 3 inches of grass as it's driving around randomly. So like if you ran it on your lawn and then went back the next morning, look, you'd definitely see like the little areas that it had cut, little path that it had taken. So it kind of needs to hang out in an area for a while to do that part of the lawn. And it's got some modes, like it's got a circular pattern mode that you can just basically set out in the lawn, hit that button, and it'll just kind of like go back and forth and around and around and around until it figures it doesn't need to, I guess, anymore. So, I got some playing around with it to do, but and I also have to finish off, like there's some areas in my lawn that were kind of washed out from the recent storm, and it kind of like can't travel over those ruts or washed out areas very easily.
Big old divots and stuff.
Yeah, it kind of gets stuck there. So I've got to better the drainage in those areas, and then and put some dirt back where it can travel smoothly over that. And I think after I do that, it'll probably be finished off on like how it wants to, unless I decide to add more wire in and section up the lawn even more. But probably going to have a true lawnmower help it out at least one more time to cut the grass a little bit shorter, especially in the backyard, because I tend to cut it long. But the grass in the backyard seemed to be a little bit more than it can handle. And it's on a hill too, which it can traverse up and down the hill quite a bit easily. But it'll kind of like bog down the front of it. It runs into something and it kind of backs up just like a Roomba would, and try again in a different direction. And sometimes it just kind of gets stuck driving around in the same 4 areas until it kind of gets over whatever grass hump it needs to get over. So I've got to go cut that a little bit lower with a real lawnmower to help it out. And then at that point, I think it's just like a maintenance thing. So you just kind of like set it out and it does its thing every day. And you don't have to. That's the idea, at least. So hopefully it does it. We'll see.
So I was showing my wife the pictures and videos you posted of it. And this is the first time I got told for another person's project. She looked at it. I said, look at this. It's cool. Robotic lawnmower. She says, we do not need one. And it was said in that way, we do not need one. There was no laughing. There was no winking. There was like,
because she understands that we're a bad influence.
Seth, you're getting me in trouble now. If one happens to show up on my door, I'm just letting you know. You sent it to me.
Seth bought it for me.
I'm just letting you know. Seth had an extra.
We got blamed for the rack. Now we're getting blamed for a robotic lawnmower. It's like, well, wait.
Seth's lawnmower had a baby.
Yeah, there we go.
Exactly. It's been
Twins.
busy.
So yeah, I gotta figure out how I'm gonna get one.
My neighbor has already come over and said, we're doing research. They saw it driving around. I tossed it in the backyard, and it was kind of, we went out for the day, and I guess it decided it was tired and wanted to go home. So it was like driving around on the boundary wire, and I saw it passing, out in the front yard. It's kind of cool. Like you can see on the cameras, you can see this little thing driving around your lawn, doing its thing.
So why don't you charge the neighbors a monthly fee to add their lawn to your map?
Ooh,
that's a great idea.
For the front, at least a monthly fee, a subscription.
We've talked about these in the hub quite a bit over the past year or so. And I think there's like a whole industry that's starting up of lawn maintenance companies that are installing devices similar to this, maybe not this one, but they'll just be there to maintain and mow the lawn to level. And then they'll come in and just do the trimming and clean up as needed. But it's kind of a better way to mow if you can just mow like a few centimeters off your grass and chop down the high spots, every day, rather than having to do what I do and try to mow 10 inches of grass.
Well, it is better for your grass to not
Yeah.
cut so much off, so, we're not going to turn this into a lawn podcast, but
Yeah.
you don't want to cut 3 inches off your grass. You want to cut it little by little, less stress on the grass. So this is a better way of doing it.
I did find that the app was surprisingly useful. I just looking at it, it seemed like it was going to be one of these like halfway done Chinese IoT app things. And for the most part it is, but it does actually it provides you with the status, like if it's charging, the battery level. You can basically just remote control and do everything that you could from the panel on the top of it from the app. So without having to authorize or anything, you just open up the app, you hit go, and or you can schedule it, you can book it to mow at particular hours of the day or night and see its status. I mean, pretty much anywhere in the yard, it would complain that the Wi-Fi level was low, but it didn't have a problem reporting its status in at any point in time, nor did I have problem controlling it anywhere in the yard. So I was kind of happily surprised to see how well the not so great user interface of the app worked. It actually serves its purpose good enough. I would say the app is good enough. Hopefully I can get it on a schedule thing, like you were saying, and just have it mowing out there every day and just doing its thing and kind of ignore it. We'll see. I got to make a little house for it now. So he's not exposed to the elements.
Poor thing. It's kind of like a Roomba though. It's like you just set it and forget it. Mine, I set it and I really don't touch mine really. Every couple days it does 2 rooms. It bugs my dog more than it bugs me because it keeps bouncing him.
Well, it's super quiet too. So, I was sitting up by the front window watching TV, and our windows in Florida are not like windows anywhere else. They basically just don't close. They're basically just giant holes, and they're louvered windows from the 1950s, and they just you hear single pane glass. You hear everything. You feel wind rushing through them. So you may as well just have your windows open. And the thing was driving around outside the window, and I can kind of hear it. I'm like, what is that? And I opened it up, and it's like, oh, it just mowed right by the window, and it's not like a giant lawnmower running around. I thought that was nice. So I could run this thing in the middle of the night out there cutting the grass, as needed. No one would ever know. And wake up in the morning and the grass is cut. It's pretty cool.
Your little airplane whirly gig sounds louder than the lawnmower. So
no, absolutely. Yeah, no, it doesn't make any sound at all other than when it hits some particularly tall grass or strong Florida weeds, I guess, where it makes a little thumping sound of the razor blades hitting it. But for the most part, it's whisper quiet. So, which is a nice change compared to the lawnmower that I have, that I'm getting rid of now. It sounds like an airplane's taking off. It's ridiculous. So anyway, that's something to keep in mind. You're not stuck mowing the lawn, on the weekends during the day. This thing could be out in the middle of the night mowing the lawns, and your neighbors would never know. You could be sleeping through it. It's just going to go out and do its thing. So it's kind of cool.
You're making me jealous now. I don't have to mow my lawn for at least another 6 months or so anyway. But that's a lot of time to do some research for the summer.
You need a snow robot.
I was a snowplow attachment on the front of the thing.
We do not need a snow robot. I was told to.
You need all wow, specifically that one too, huh?
Yeah,
because
that was the season, right? It was like, well, I don't need a lawnmower now.
You're right,
right? Yeah, I don't need it now. What about snow? No.
Well, I was looking on Alibaba. There were some that are on there. They're like tank quality treads that would probably shovel snow fairly well. Like I can send you the links to those. They were significantly more, but in gasoline powered as well. So
I mean, you might as well make sure you buy a good one though. So it's worth a little bit extra.
All right, we'll end the show on this. You know? I don't need to spend any more money right now. Does it integrate with Home Assistant?
You know, I haven't looked, but it probably does. I'm just going to assume that it does. I'm going to assume that there's somebody has hacked the API and made a driver for it at this point. So
there you go.
I'll actually check that out. And if it is, I'll probably install Home Assistant just to have a little dashboard that can tell me what the lawnmower status is. That'd be great. Anyway, let's move on here. We want to give a big thank you to everyone who supports the show, but especially those who are able to financially support the show through our Patreon page. If you don't know about the Patreon page, head over to HomeTech.fm/support to learn how you can support HomeTech for as little as $1 a month. Any pledge over $5 a month gets you a big shout out on the show, but every pledge gets you an invite to our Slack chat, the hub, where you and everyone else can get in there and talk about the news of the week. There's a rumor that a company that starts with an L is going to be purchasing another company that starts with an S, and I'm starting that rumor, but somebody told me, so I'll just have to wait and see if it is true.
You're just regurgitating it at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it may not be true. I have no idea, but if it is true, that would actually be pretty big news because these are two pretty big companies. Anyway, check that out in the hub. If it happens, I'll probably know and tell everybody. My sourcing was good. Anyway, if you want to help out the show but can't support financially, totally understand. Just appreciate a 5-star review in iTunes or positive rating in the podcast app of your choice. That wraps up another week in Home Tech News. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Take care.
Till next time.